I think we're familiar with the tragic occurrence that happened just approximately a month ago in Hadera here in Eretz Yisrael. Something that has never happened so far in Eretz Yisrael as of known yet, and that is a person was completely attacked by a number of sharks that he went scuba diving next to them and not far from them, and was completely consumed by them. The search teams went looking for any remnants and any pieces they could find, and after much searching and trying to find, they found approximately a finger and a little bit of his thigh, and I have to say not much more than that, unfortunately, to be able to find this person. His name is Barak. We have to get into the whole details of who he was or what he was. But they themselves say that it was very unusual, and they're trying to still figure out how something like this could happen, because it was also a breed of sharks which kima never attack people. Their interest in their food and their feed is not really human flesh. It's obviously other fish. And they were actually surprised about different occurrences that happened. Of course, we know that a number of theories is, since they have special pores underneath the area of their nose, those pores actually have a special sense for smelling blood in the ocean. Literally, a few kilometers away, they're able to smell blood. And that's really one of their important purposes in the ocean, to clean up all floating dead carcasses. Anything that has bleeding or is already letting out of blood, they run for it, and that's usually what they have. And therefore, some assumed that he had some type of perforation in his body and there was blood. And others are of the strong assumption that they were not treated properly, if not necessarily by him, maybe by others before him. And everyone's trying to figure out how this terrible and tragic occurrence happened. So we're here just to, based on the Parsha, give a response with giving absolutely no bikurat on this person. I'm not discussing this person. I don't know who this person is, and that's not my purpose. But it's something for what we learn when we see these things, where we're supposed to go, and just interesting facts, which it's good to know through this occurrence. And that is in the beginning of Parshat Bechukotai, Perek Chavav, Pasuk Vav. The Pasuk says, "V'natati shalom ba'aretz v'shchavtem," that in good times, then there will be peace in the land. Ve'en machrid, you don't have to be worried. Ve'shavti chayara min haaretz, ve'cherv lo taravor ba'aretzeichem, and all animals will be returned, will be calm, will not be there. Says the Ramban. Now there's two Rambans. The Ramban in Parshat Noach says at the time when Noach saved all the animals, so that is when we received a permissibility to go ahead and eat meat. Until then, we were not permitted to go ahead and eat animals. We weren't permitted to kill and eat them. But after they, as they say, owed us one, because we saved their lives through Noach, so then we were able to eat meat. But the Ramban also adds, and from then on also, that's when scavengers occurred. That's when meat-eating animals also started becoming carnivorous and eating meat one to the other. Before that, everything ate from the asavim. Now, the truth is, the Ramban in our parsha says something a little bit disparate to that, not exactly consistent with that, and he writes that really animals were born originally as Adam Rishon before the Chet, before the sin of Adam Rishon, as being completely herbivorous. They did not eat meat. After the sin of Adam Rishon, because of the Chet, so then from then on they started eating meat also. That's when they started eating meat, because it was the cause of the Chet that brought down to the world a world that is, if I can say, physical, gashmi, something that's focused on the physical world to such an extent that therefore they also started eating meat and eating one of the other, and also B'nai Adam, and sometimes even going ahead and attacking man. A little bit of a disposition about when it really occurred that animals started eating each other. Everyone agrees they definitely were not born that way, or it happened by Adam Rishon, or it happened by Noach. So the truth is, in the Ramban in this week's Parsha, it seems to be complement one the other, and he basically says that definitely after the Chet, that's when they had the capabilities and they started becoming carnivorous, sort of speak, and being able to eat. But it actually really started occurring from the time of Tevas Noach, from the Mabul. When that happened later on, that's when they actually became a consistent and consistent thing, meaning it seems to be until then it could have been one or the other, but by Noach it already happened on a consistent basis. We all know that Noach himself got bitten by the lion when he was on the Teva. Apparently the first of the beginnings of carnivorous animals going ahead and taking advantage of man to some type of extent. Anyways, so that is the history of these animals, but the message, which is very important to be learned based on this Ramban, is that we see a yisod that ein, as the Gemara says in Brachot, that ein orid meimit, the animal is not the one that causes death, ela chet meimit. It comes only from our chetayim. Animals have only power over us in as much as we do something wrong. Adam Arishan sinned, something came off about it. That's when they started eating each other and eventually could attack man. Cain went and he killed his brother Hevel. Mida Kereged Mida, animals wanted to attack him, and Kadosh Baruch Hu had to plant a letter on his forehead in order to protect him from the elements so that animals would not attack him. What happened until then? Because chet, sin, is what causes the damage. We look too externally sometimes to look at that and forget about looking at the internal reasons, and it's the person that can cause this to occur. I don't have to explain to you, of course, Yosef at Tzaddik was thrown into a pits with scorpions and snakes, which is the Mefarshim, right? Doesn't mean he was just in a pit with them. He slammed himself on top of them. He was pushed on top of them. He stepped on them. He was in the middle. He was walking and stepping on them left and right, and not one sting. He came out completely unscathed because ein akrav meimit. It's not the scorpion or the snake that causes the damage, it's the chet, it's the person. When a person has a certain tzidkus, a certain level of tzidkus to him, he's protected more or less. Of course, everybody with their own individual case. Daniel was thrown into a guv of arayot, a cave full of lions, to a closed encased area that is jam-packed with the lions, and he came out also unscathed. Now, let's not forget, they were on purpose left hungry. These lions were starving. Before they threw Daniel into there, they made sure that these lions did not have food for a long period of time in order to make sure they would do a nice job and clean up the plate, and still they left him quiet. Later, as not so many people know, someone else was thrown in there and he got eaten up very nice and dandy. Why is that? This is a natural phenomenon. How can you overcome nature? The answer is animals attack based on a person, not based on anything else beyond that. And again, I'm reminding, I don't know this person, I'm not going into that. I'm doing what we should take out as lessons for our own individuality. That's all I'm trying to do, because I feel like when occurrences like this happen, especially some that are so out of the box, we have to take some type of lesson, because it's something that's our purpose. One last Gemara, of course, we know the Gemara in Brachot with Reb Chanina ben Dosav, that there was an orid, some type of scorpion, some type of serpent, that was going through the city and killing people left and right. He had a special hole. He would come out in the middle of the night and he would damage the whole entire city. Many people died from this arid, and they had no way to get rid of him. So comes along Superman, Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, with his cape, and he comes, sticks his Achilles heel into the hole of the arid. The arid comes up and bites his heel, and the arid dies, and this animal dies. And Reb Chanisa said the famous line based on that, Lalamed, to teach us, She'ena arid meimit, always remember, it's not the animal, rather it's the chet, it's our own individuality. It has to do with us, it has to do with the purpose, it has to do with our situation here in the galut, and therefore a person should always attribute it to the right place. And with this we finish. But that is directly connected with the Sifra, which is also mentioned in the Pasuk in this week's Parsha. Very kedai for the Shabbat table, what I'm mentioning right now. And that is, there is a machloket le'atid lavo. In the time of Mashiach, what's going to be the situation with the animals? Reb Yehuda says, ma'avirim otam min ha'olam. Okay, the pasuk by us says, v'ishbati chayim min ha'aretz. HaKadosh Baruch is, I'm going to get rid of the land. What's v'ishbati? Shvita, says Reb Yehuda, is getting rid of them. Reb Shimon comes along and he says, it doesn't mean he's going to get rid of them. They'll be around. There'll be lions and tigers and bears and snakes. But there'll be no oh my's. Oh my. No. They'll be fine. They won't hurt anyone. They won't do anything. They'll be very innocent. They'll be very nice and sweet. And you can walk around freely. You can go horseback riding on top of some puma and it's going to be totally okay. It's fine. And that's what it says in the pasuk, V'gar zev im hakeves. The zev, the wolf, will sleep next to the sheep. I don't know how much sleep the sheep is going to be able to get doing that, but they'll be able to sleep next to each other, not worried about it. The mer imgdi, the namer is the tiger, will be able to sleep together with the goat. Ve'egelu kfiru mara yachdav, and all dangerous animals will sleep together with the nut. Ad kedei kach, the midrash also brings that a tinok, a young child, will come and poke some tzifoni, which is a super dangerous snake, in the eye, and he'll do that and he won't get bitten, he'll be okay. So says Reb Shimon, we see from here, they'll be around, it'll be fine, but it's not a problem, because don't you remember the klal, the yesod, Eina arid meimit, it's not the animal that causes, it's the chet. So when we are in a status of perfection, when we're in a place of the Mot Mashiach, when we are over and beyond chetayim, when that is behind us, so then the animals won't want to hurt us, they won't be interested in hurting us, and we'll be okay. The Onkelos also, in our parsha, on this pasuk also, it's a machloket. The Onkelos, meaning Targum Onkelos, says, Evatel chayta b'shaita mina ara. I will go ahead and get rid of the animals. That sounds like Rabbi Yehuda, they won't be around. But in Targum Ben Yonasan Ben Uziel, that's another Targum on the Pirush, Yonasan Ben Uziel, he says, Ve'aftel reshut chayot bara min arad Israel. I won't get rid of the chayot, I'll get away from their permission to go ahead and attack you or each other. They won't become as carnivorous as they were before. One is get rid of them, one says reshut. So again, we get back to the same machloket, and that is a machloket halacha lamaisa, because the Rambam brings in the end of Malachim, in the time of Yemot Mashiach, ein bein Yemot Mashiach el Shiva Malchus bilvad. The only thing we're going to have is we'll be in charge of the world, but don't worry, everything will be the same, including the animals. Animals will still be carnivorous, they'll still be eating things, and they'll still be doing things. But this says the Rambam that we'll be in a more peaceful world, and therefore we'll be safe. The Ravid says mapitom, that's not pshat in the pasuk, and he says no way, it's going to be much worse than that, because he says the other direction, it's going to be much better than that, because there will be no carnivorous animals at all, they will not be hurting, they will be put away, it'll be okay, like it says in our pasuk of Shvita. So here we have it. Again, this machloket about whether they won't be around at all, whether they'll be around and they won't be attacking, we'll be in a much more peaceful place. But the yesod is to always remember, when you're good, you're safe. When you're doing what needs to be done, and Kodesh Baruch Hu takes care of us, He's protecting us, and you don't have to worry about the attacks that will happen. That Bezrat Hashem, when we go ahead and we put our kochot in the right place, then you will feel a protective force field around you, and the Chayat Torfot will not be able, chas v'shalom, to take advantage, and maybe even then you can go ahead and go swimming with the sharks. Shabbat Shalom.